Say we're working on a Rails application and we'd like to write as much Ruby as we can, both on the front and on the back end. There are many alternatives to replace Vue templates with Ruby. In this episode, we're going to take a look at one of them, Phlex. According to the Phlex site, Phlex is a framework for building fast, reusable, testable views in pure Ruby. So let's try it out. In order to use Phlex, we first need to install it either for our project via the gem file or globally using gem install. Let's build up an episode card component to show off how Phlex works. We start by creating a class that inherits from Phlex HTML. A Phlex HTML object must implement a method named template. This method defines the content that will be rendered by our class. Inside it, we have available a collection of methods that correlate one-to-one with available HTML tag names. For example, we can insert an h2 heading by calling the h2 method, and we'll add the episode title by passing a block that returns a string. We can render our component by creating an instance of the episode card class and sending it the call message, and see that it effectively created an h2 tag with the text Phlex. We can create other tags, for example a span or a paragraph. Let's stick with the p tag and add a few description lines for our card, and render it. As we can see, Phlex's output is just a continuous string of HTML code. There are no line breaks or indentation. This is this way because the browser doesn't need any of that to properly render a page. In fact, adding line breaks or indentation will add characters to the output that won't be actually appreciated. But it doesn't look good in a text buffer on a screencast. For that reason, I'll create a small helper method to make it look more readable. Just keep in mind that this has nothing to do with Phlex, and that this is not the actual Phlex output. If we change the puts call with a call to pre-print, it now reads better. So far, our component doesn't look like an actual HTML component, because we just have a flat structure. We can add some nesting. It's as easy as creating a tag, say a div, and rendering the nested elements inside its block. We will also create a div for the episode description, and render it to see the result. Now our episode card is missing an ID, so let's add it to the root div. To add attributes to an element, we can pass them as named arguments to the div method. We can do the same for CSS classes, and even for data attributes. And we can see them properly rendered. So far, we've only created hard-coded information for our template. But what if we want to add some dynamic data? If we had our hard-coded component as an ERB template, we could interpolate dynamic data using the expansion tag, and add loops and other control structures using the scriptlet tag. How do we interpolate in Phlex? Well, since Phlex components are just Ruby code, we can just write Ruby code. The title can be just returned from the h2 block. The description paragraphs can be obtained iterating over the episode description lines, then calling the p method and returning the line from the block, and the episode ID can be just interpolated directly onto the corresponding string. Note that we don't need any specialized interpolation syntax. Now this blows up because we don't actually have an episode to render. Let's instantiate it in the initializer just to see it in action. This works, but we're hard-coding our episode. In a real-world scenario, our episode will be coming from the outside of the card component. In order to inject the episode to the component, we can add an argument to the initializer and assign it from there, and then pass it in when we create our instance. When we render it, we see the desired output. Writing HTML output in Ruby is not just convenient, but also very easy using Phlex. I encourage you to try it out on your next project and ponder if it's the right fit for you. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you on the next one.